All right, welcome back to Poor and Educated. I'm Caleb,
I'm Anthony.
and today we'll be talking about some urbanism, but we're going to start off with a little bit of where we are, what we're doing, that kind of stuff. It is the summer now. We are recording this on May 26th. We're both done with our spring semesters, and we got a lot more time now to get some writing and some recording done. So there will be some more episodes coming out over the summer. I'll be working with Colorado Water Trust and stuff like that. But we got a bunch more time. But Anthony's got some cool stuff going on. Anthony, what are you doing this summer?
Oh my gosh, I'm I'm a teacher and our city is currently going through a pretty huge deal. So basically there's the central school district and they lost their contract. So basically, I don't know why Colorado has this law, but basically school boards could just vote to end master contracts, even if the union has been around for I don't know, 60 years or whatever, who cares? But basically they killed the contract. So now they voted to strike, and now we're going to be doing door knocking and all those sorts of things for the next school board elections this summer. So I'm doing that through the union and through the Democratic Socialists. So yeah, busy summer. And also, of course, we're going to be doing a lot more poor and educated, trying to, oh my God, I have to say that a lot slower. Poor and educated. We've been running into problems with saying that fast.
Yes, we have to be assured to enunciate everything in there, or else it sounds a bit funky.
The key is to get the pause between the words, like the poor and
And
educated. You can't just
yes,
can't let it run together. Can't do the Colorado,
no,
you know.
nope, you gotta let it
Um,
enunciate everything out.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so busy summer. Oh, also I'm teaching theater next year, so I have to pass a praxis test, just to prove that I can teach theater.
Yeah,
So that's
teaching
fair.
theater will be fun.
It will be.
And
It'll be
this is
cute.
a D11 you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and I'm be switching to the district here, so I'll be actually joining the fight, which will be cool. Rather than being on the sidelines. Cause the union I'm in, it's very dinky. It's very, they're fun. They have a good time. They have some sway. But Colorado Springs Colorado Springs Education Association is a big deal. That they have 60% membership from their teachers and stuff. So.
Yeah, this will be good. And you already made some writing about it back in January. Teachers' voices
Uh,
given expiration date in Colorado Springs, which is a great piece that Anthony wrote for the
oh,
Substack.
thanks.
Um,
Yeah, man.
it's
These
from
kids be
January, but
wild.
yeah, it's from
I mean, it's
January,
still
but
relevant.
yes,
Let me
exactly.
tell you,
It'll bring
that
you up
was
to
the
date.
start of the fight. That was the I didn't know it at the time, but that was just for the
That was
very beginning.
yeah, that
For
was
a lot of
it
people, it
just
felt like
starting.
the end. Yeah, for a lot of people, it felt like the end, but all this momentum's been building, and now they finally had this huge election. 91% of union teachers voted to strike. And
Mhm.
again, that's 60% of all D11 teachers are part of the Colorado Springs Education Association. So it's going to be a big deal. I don't even know the details yet, 'cause I'm not officially a part of the union until, oh gosh, until my contract's over with my current district. So yeah, that's the thing, man. Like when you do stupid stuff like this, you attract teachers who care, people who want to
Mhm.
be in the fight. So I know I'm not the only teacher joining D11 specifically because of this fight and because of this plight. It's not just a teacher issue; it's a workers issue.
Yes, absolutely. And the this school board is not exactly teacher friendly. Um, there's a lot of issues with this school board and some of the people on there. But we'll be talking a lot more about D11 and Colorado Springs and the the fight for teachers in Colorado Springs over the summer. But
Oh
today,
yeah, it's either going to go great or really not great. We'll find out.
it's a very turbulent time, so it could go either way. I no longer live in Colorado Springs, but I still have a deep love for the city and for the teachers of it. So I hope it
Yeah,
goes well. I mean, we've already seen a few strikes throughout the state. I'm sure everybody remembers the King Soopers strike, um, which, if I remember right, is not done yet. That they're still in negotiations, but
They're on a peace pause right now. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure labor peace pause.
there's some labor
I don't know
fights
the
coming up in
fancy name.
Colorado. Um, that'll be big. I know Polis just vetoed a big labor bill. Um,
Cause he sucks just a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit. He's certainly not as bad as it could be, but he's got his issues and things we don't
He's
agree with.
weirdly libertarian, which I don't get. I feel like I don't know. My argument has always been unions are like a lever of capitalism. Like
Yes.
so supply and demand. Like we're just increasing our demand or showing our demand
Mm-hmm.
by decreasing our supply to remind people that we are in demand.
They got to put
Oh,
their
goodness
thumbs on
gracious.
the scale though. It's what is what's it socialism for me, cutthroat capitalism for thee. Um,
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Just like you would think government would be like, hey, the people elected me. And what was it? Abraham Lincoln was like, capital is the fruit of labor, right?
mhm.
So really, labor should have like upper hand in negotiations and things like that with a strong government behind us. Because let's face it, the corporations at this point are becoming more powerful than the government
Mhm.
itself. Like,
I'm sure
especially
we'll
when you
have
see
some
like these tech bros and shit.
we'll have some conversations about Citizens United and what all that entails
Ah,
for
yeah.
the nation, but also I think for Colorado and everything else. But today
Yes.
we are going to be talking about really what brought me and Anthony together in the first place. When we first started working at Sprouts together, and we realized we had some interests that were aligned, and that is urbanism. Um,
Yeah,
we
the
really care
YouTube
about urbanism.
algorithms brought us together.
It really did. It really did. So yeah, Anthony, what got you into urbanism to begin with?
Well, it was just the kind of stopping of driving. And so basically, I was in two pretty major car accidents in 1 year. And I'm still like overcoming like a lot of that, like both financially and like mentally and things like that. So driving and I just didn't get along. So I said, screw it, I'm a bus rider now. And honestly, there's like some benefits and some downsides. Like immediately we saw the savings, of like
Mm-hmm.
having to only like pay and maintain for one car rather than two.
Mm-hmm.
And also we found that like we get to spend more time together in our commutes, carpooling together and things like that. And the bus, like, gosh, the bus in my city is not great, but like, here's the deal about the bus. I'm not driving. So I've done more reading this year than I have ever. I've, done a lot of writing and I do a lot of journaling on the bus. I can even like if especially if I'm like going downtown like after school or something like that, I can get a lot of grading done. So yeah, it's not terrible. And I'm just realizing how honestly speaking about how bad the bus is, like seeing how bad our public transportation has been, and seeing how good other cities have done it and how good other countries have just like blown past us in terms of how we build our cities and put our cities together. I don't know. I've realized the importance. Like the minute you
Oh
strip
yeah.
away that one thing that like you realize that like a lot of like the convenience of living in like a lot of cities and not just Colorado but in America like drop away the minute
Yes.
you lose your personal transportation.
Yeah.
Which I think is not fair. That's not equitable because there's a lot of people who just like think. I think about families who don't have access to any sort of car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like how the heck are you supposed to live? And like see on the bus, I will see like parents with their little kids and things like that, and I'm like, dang, I wish that they didn't have to sit at the bus stop for 40 minutes. It should be like every 15.
Yep.
Um, so I don't know, man. That's kind of what it is.
That,
That's
that,
what got me into urbanism. And
I,
our city, to his benefit, Colorado Springs, like we're a very conservative city, but we've always been strangely liberal when it comes to like our land use. And we've been trying to make a lot of changes. Like in the '80s, we basically tore ourselves down. Like Colorado Springs were the second biggest city in Colorado, and like in the '80s, we did the thing that a lot of cities did in the '80s, where we tore down our cities. We got rid of our streetcars. We did a lot of kind of reckless, stupid things.
mm-hmm.
Um, but now like we're trying to rebuild a lot of that. Like we're trying to rebuild our denser and redense and redense. What's the word for that? You know the fancy
Um,
word.
like infill? Is that what you're looking for?
Redense. Yeah, there we go. We're trying to add infill to like our historic neighborhoods, like Old Colorado City. They're even trying to add a historic. They're trying to redo the Union Printers. They're trying to make it into a neighborhood. So they're trying to
Hmm.
like basically build a dense neighborhood from scratch with like infill and shops and things like that. So
Some
I don't know.
revitalization kind of stuff.
Yeah, so our city's moving in the right direction for sure. We actually, speaking of urbanism, are in the middle of a huge fight about the way our city is trying to annex some far off land that's like, I think like out east. Like basically, if you look at it on a map, it looks so stupid. It's like one road, and then it goes out like a few. I can't even remember how many miles it is. It's like 8 or 9 miles. I can't. I don't want to misspeak or spread misinformation, but it's a good ways out, and then it's like a chunk of like like
Yeah,
just single family homes.
the Carmen
Uh,
line
yes, the Carmen
annexation.
line. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's just gonna spread thin our emergency services. It's going to spread thin our already dwindling water supply. Like we have so much like empty land that we should be infilling, and we already have so many good projects that are aiming to do so. It's just I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Norwood,
The
Norwood needs to make its
argument.
money, or whoever needs to make their money.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. The argument for doing this kind of expansion or annexation is always like building the tax base, but then you realize like, oh, this is just one developer who's probably paying some people on the city council, um,
Yeah,
where
more like building a tax base, more like subsidizing a already wealthy, well-to-do neighborhood. Because like
yes,
these are
hmm
pretty like well-off single-family homes. These aren't like
yeah, you
dense
just end
apartment
up
complexes or townhomes.
just subsidizing their like water utilities and things like that. It ends up being a massive drag on the finances um, of the city in Colorado Springs. I really hope
Yeah,
they
it's
figure
not a
this
good deal.
out. Um, it doesn't look good at the moment.
Really, you think it's gonna go through?
I don't know. I do think it's very much on the edge.
Well,
Again,
shit,
I'm
looks like I
not
got a
living
door
in.
knock for something else now.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
I'm
know.
not
From
living
what
in
I've seen,
Colorado
there's been
Springs, but from
I've
what I've
seen
seen,
more resistance than anything else, but you're right. I mean, it's a June 19th election, which is so strange. So the people who are voting on this are going to be people who are highly
yeah.
engaged.
Hmm.
So if
Get
you're
out there
highly
and vote on
politically
this.
engaged, first of all, listen to this podcast because this podcast is great if you want to be highly engaged in very specific local politics of a state you
Yeah.
may or may not live in. Um,
Start
so yeah.
listening to some CPR, the or
Here's the
KRCC.
deal, though. If we make one Pueblo friend, then we will have all three major cities in Colorado,
Yeah,
like the three biggest.
yeah, the
You
three
know?
biggest, absolutely. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
technically live in Denver, but I'm in the Denver greater area, and I pay
I
attention
consider.
to.
Here's the deal. As someone from the Springs, you live in fucking Denver.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair. That's fair.
I don't give it. What is Longmont? That's not even a real place. You live in
No, no,
Denver. Okay.
Westminster.
See, same. That's not even a real place. That doesn't
Longmont's further
exist.
out. I could understand people
What's the
saying
one that
Longmont.
you? What's the one that you are connected to? It's like you're on the edge of it. Is it?
Broomfield.
Broomfield, that's what it is. I don't know. Something about Broomfield and Longmont both sound like something that I'd find inside a barn. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Broomfield's interesting. They have an interesting political background. Um,
Really
yeah, I can talk about that in a later pod.
interesting. But anyways,
Yeah,
urbanism. What got you into urbanism, Caleb? I know you're from
I
Texas, so that's a nightmare in itself.
yes. So I think there we have a similar. I went to Europe a couple of times, um, over to the British Isles and Paris and stuff, and got to use their um, public transport system, which was, I mean, absolutely incredible. Um, and that's like really when it first started clicking in my head because I was 2017, 2018. Um, and of course, I was, you know, 17, 18, 19 in that range. So I just got my driver's license and I was driving everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I have so much freedom. I can go wherever I want. Because where I'm from in Texas, there's just no public transport whatsoever. So there's if you didn't have a car, like you were saying earlier, if you don't have a car, you can't go
Hmm.
anywhere. But I went over to Europe, got to experience these incredible public transport systems um, that were able to move me around the city super fast, relatively cheaply. And I got to see a bunch, and that was like when I remember the first time being like, damn, what if I could walk out of my house, hop on a train or a tram or a bus, and be like at a library or at a museum in 15 minutes? And I was like, damn, I don't have that at home. And then it
I
kind of
know.
went
Even
dormant. Go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say I had kind of bad experiences visiting you up and like listen, even you don't have it all that great. And
No, I
Denver's like a
don't, but
major city.
RTD does a decent
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, like I was able to from your apartment because I remember there's that I was up there for the Bernie rally, so I stayed the night with you.
Hmm.
So I was able to get up in the morning, hop on a bus, hop on a train, arrive at Union Station downtown, and I was able to do all of that in like what 30 minutes from
Yeah, 30,
a
45 minutes,
pretty
something like
like
that.
a pretty far out suburb,
Yeah.
like not exactly in the heart of downtown, but I was able to get to the heart of downtown in the same amount of time. Like I was blowing by cars stuck in traffic.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like we can do it. Like
Oh, it's
the
absolutely
the
possible.
the pieces are there. But we do need to better connect connectivity. We do need to work on our transit oriented housing. Like
Absolutely.
we got to work like we got to talk about infill. Let's infill these buzzwords of urbanism, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's get it done. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Walkable City, the book by Jeff Speck, which you have my copy of at the moment. He talks about,
Haha,
uh, I think
mine.
there's like three chapters in there about connecting your walkable places. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, uh,
all about pathways. That guy.
exactly. Uh, yeah, I went over to Europe, came back, started college, and it kind of went dormant in the back of my head for a little bit. But I remember thinking about how nice it was constantly. And then COVID happened, which everybody knows that COVID was a big changer in our world. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
But
it's got to
at that
radicalize
time,
everybody all at once.
oh yeah, it definitely pushed me in the direction I was heading a lot faster than before. But I was living in um, a town called Kyle, Texas, but working in Buda, Texas. So I'd have to take I-35, the major highway, to work all the time. Or I was also another job that was further out in the sticks. But either way, I remember constantly driving to work and like before I would get in my car, I was a happy person. And then I would drive to work and I'd get out and I'd just be so annoyed and pissed off and being like, God, that drive sucks every single time. Uh, and then, funny enough, COVID's happening. We're all staying at home. I'm playing a game called Wreckfest, which is literally just about wrecking cars and like racing and stuff. Great game, really fun.
Good stuff.
But I was
Fun
also watching
times.
YouTube at the same time, and it pulled up this video from not just bikes, um, and I remember like stopping playing the game, and it was something about biking in the Netherlands, and there was something about that video that popped out to me as like, damn, I wish I could just ride my bike to work and not have to sit in traffic, be pissed off at the people around me. Because like I became a person I didn't want to be when I was driving. Not that I was like aggressive or anything. That sounds bad, but you know when you get in the car and you're in a good mood and then you get stuck in traffic and then you're just in a bad mood afterwards.
Oh, yeah,
That's what
shit
started it
happened
for
to
me.
us when we were driving up to Denver that one
Yes,
time.
exactly, to go see Climate Town in person.
Yeah, yeah.
It just it's annoying and it just puts you in a bad mood. And at that time, going through a lot of self discovery, figuring out what I wanted for myself, for my future family, for my wife, things like that, um, and being like, damn, this is like the number one most negative thing in my life right now is driving. And then that video came up, and then I started to like I went down the YouTube rabbit hole of everybody and watching all these things, and then I was like, oh my god, you mean there's a world where I don't have to drive, that I can just hop on a bus and like read a book, hop on a train? And in that moment, I like connected it back to my time in Europe. of being able to like sit and have a conversation with people or read a book on the subway or the tube as they call it in London. And I was like,
The
wow, this is
tube.
possible. Um, that's really what got it going for me is that I ended up going down a rabbit hole that connected to me at the right time, um, at the right place. And actually, Anthony, I have two pictures for you. Can you still see my screen?
Ooh, I sure can. I
All right,
can.
let me flip to this next slide.
Okay,
All
so
right,
maybe a little
Anthony,
bit of a delay. So hold on.
let me know when it's up.
Let's see here. All right, I see. I see two people. I see two men here.
Two middle-aged white dudes. Um,
Yes.
but I'm gonna ask you, do you know who that is on the left?
On the left? Oh God.
If I played
No,
his voice, you would definitely know it.
oh, that's not just bikes then, if you're
Yep,
gonna say
Jason
that.
Slaughter uh, from Not Just Bikes.
Hey, I nailed it.
That's the guy that
That's
really
not
like sunk his teeth
that's not
into
the
me.
city nerd dude. Is it on the right? No
No, it
way.
is
Or that's
not.
Jeff
That is not
Speck.
Ray.
That that Jeffrey Spectacle. Oh, that's
Nope,
the Cadillac Ledger guy? Oh,
nope,
okay.
nope.
I have no idea. Who is this dude?
He's
Who is
another
this guy?
urbanist YouTube guy. Well, I call him on YouTube, but not really. He is from Strong Towns. That is Chuck Marone. Um,
Oh, Strong Towns. Okay, I like
yeah,
Strong Towns.
Strong Towns is great. So yeah,
They've
Jason
been having
Slaughter.
that gal lead the YouTube lately, so
Yes, and there's
uh
another guy too that I've seen some shorts and stuff. They don't post as much as they used to, um, but they're
City
still
Beautiful?
there. They're
I love
uh,
City Beautiful.
City Beautiful is still post.
Yeah,
City
yeah.
Nerd has slowed down a little bit, but
He
these two
has.
guys, Jason and Chuck, were I'm on first name basis with them now.
What?
Jason Slaughter and Chuck Marone.
That's
Those
crazy.
are the ones that uh, I don't actually know them. I just happen to say it that way.
I know. Yes, Caleb, I know. I
Oh,
got
okay,
there.
good. Okay, good.
We're
Uh,
good.
they're the ones that sunk their teeth into me to um, get me into urbanism. Jason Slaughter, not just bikes, as I think it was his wit. He's very witty and sarcastic in his videos. Um, you've seen his videos like that. He got
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
He got me that way. I was like, oh, this guy's fun, and he makes sense, and he makes like logical arguments that I want to see in the world. And then Strong Towns, Chuck Marone, his big thing is like sustainable cities, sustainable
Yes.
financially,
He tends
which,
to find small urban. He tends to find small towns, and
mm-hmm,
then gives them a bunch of subsidies to do urbanist policy, and then gives them a fancy trophy. And
pretty
then
much.
one time, one of those towns went bankrupt, and Strong Towns had to make like a whole video being like, "Here's why the town went bankrupt, and here's why it's not our fault."
But my dad's a like a Reagan era Republican,
Oh yeah,
all about um, fiscal conservatism, balanced budget kind of thing, and there's still a little bit of that in me. His big thing is about making
yeah,
cities um, fiscally responsible. So I watched a few of his videos, and I think there's a Urban 3 video where they show like tax base map. That's really what got me. Um, was like, oh, and we don't have to bankrupt all of our cities at the same time and make it more enjoyable by doing um, smart development. And then I really started to get into urbanism after that, and yeah, it
yeah.
kind of like spiraled from there. Watching City Nerd, City Beautiful, anybody that, and
and,
I
it,
also
and it's
love
crazy how like easy this. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is like, I'm able to watch these YouTubers and they make it sound so. I don't want to say make it sound easy, but they make it sound so achievable. You know,
uh-huh.
like it is true, and there's nothing complicated about building some housing on top of quiet shops.
Yes.
There's nothing complicated about when we welcome Costco into our city. We also say, hey, along with coming into our city, you have to subsidize housing for your workers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to
Mm-hmm.
create like company towns. I'm not trying to create. I'm not trying to recreate the Great Depression here, or the Industrial Revolution, I should say. But at the same time. like we should have stipulations on like, hey, if you're gonna bring jobs and you're gonna bring people into our city, you gotta also be able to bring a place to like keep them or support them and keep our city growing, you know?
Yes,
Like even if
absolutely.
it's just like the subsidizing of building more housing, if it's not even
Hmm.
like specifically like worker housing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, one thing that schools are doing, and even the district I'm leaving is looking into this, is one district in Colorado Springs has built a tiny house village
I
for
saw that.
teachers, where it's like I believe $800 a month is deducted from their paycheck, which I think is still too much, which is
Yeah.
like I think a little crazy. But apparently they are pretty nice, so whatever. So, and I don't actually have to double check if that's $800 because that sounds a little bit much, but I think it's
Let's
something
find
like
out.
that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have the power of the internet. So while you look that up, you can
Uh-huh.
live in your little tiny house. It's Harrison District 2 for Googling it. District Google Master over there.
It's at D2.
Um, yeah, Harrison District 2. But yeah, and they're expanding. They're building more tiny house villages. That same nonprofit that did it for the teachers. And then we also have churches. Churches they're building like apartment housing too, and that's something the governor's super interested in because the churches, you know, they got some like resources because they have good parishmanships or whatever you call them. Um, and then what was the last one? Oh yes, my school district is looking into subsidizing the rent for employees who are like renting townhomes or
Ah,
single family houses, which I think is not a good idea. But that's what the teachers in the survey wanted. So yeah. Anyways, did you find it?
I did find it. So the thing you're talking about, there's some, it's called Prospect Village. Um,
Yep, yep.
the rent per month is $600 a month, but
Oh, so
there's
cheaper than
also
I thought.
it's a stipulation that you have to be between 18 and 25 years old. I do think it's a little bit ridiculous to make it between 18 and 25. Um,
Yeah, that's their new product, right?
yeah, it's called Prospect Village, um, but I think it's actually called We Fortify. Oh, We Fortify is the nonprofit that's running it.
It's just for staff.
Oh, there's actually two. Okay, let me wind back for a second. So there's Prospect Village, which is for 18 to 25-year-olds, $600 a month. And then there's Wendy's Village, which is a larger
Yeah.
community that is $800 a month. Um,
And that one's only for teachers.
I believe so. Um, yeah, it is
Or are
teacher
these both
housing.
only for teachers?
I think they're both.
Yeah, both
Yeah,
of
no, it
them are
is
only for
both.
teachers.
Uh-huh. Both are for
Yeah.
only for teachers. The young
Hmm.
adult one is only 18 units, um,
Yeah,
while
and the
the
18 to 25 makes a lot of sense because we do have like, a lot of like kids who graduate high school and then they go straight into being like a para educator or they go straight
yes,
into janitorial staff or kitchen staff. And we need to be, even the union has been doing a really good job at like welcoming those folks in, our educational support staff. They have like their, they have like their own different union dues that are a little bit cheaper. So it's a little bit more economical for them. And they still get all the same representations that teachers and stuff do, which is cool. And now they're
yes.
getting housing. Right when I'm leaving the district, of course, all this stuff starts happening. So maybe D11. I mean, hey, man, if D11 paid for our housing, sorry, Maya, we're moving. You know,
Oh yeah,
like,
understandable, 100%, dude. That's like the biggest
yeah,
hurdle right now is housing costs, which is
I
another
know.
step in
We,
my urbanism track of watching my rent jump from twelve hundred
yes.
dollars to eighteen hundred
As it turns
dollars.
out, the other radicalizer was life.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was also a major radicalizer for me. Was just like lived experience of dealing with some shit, or like having a child and being like, I would like to go to a park, and then being like, oh, it's a whole ordeal of like trying to get him in the car, packing everything, um, taking like a 20-minute drive to a decent park. Um, when in an ideal world, I could walk out my front door with a stroller, some water bottles, and his little backpack, and be at a park in like 10 minutes just walking. That would be so nice. And it is so doable. It's done over in Europe. but for some reason
Yep.
they can't do that here.
I,
That and the system we have is just so unsafe. Um,
yeah. And then
yeah.
people always argue like, oh, it can't be done in America because we're too sprawling, we're too big of a country. The federal government can never, connect all the
Mm-hmm.
states like that. And that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, let's strengthen our local institutions. Let's
Yeah.
strengthen like the state. Then. Colorado and like other states have been able to provide, well, not next year, thanks Trump, but they've been able to provide free lunch for children.
Yep. And local
Using
too.
yeah, by like allocating specific federal funds and state funds and things like that. There will still be like some level of free lunch programs, but it's not going to be like universal free lunch how it was.
No.
But I don't know. Like, listen, that's where the argument of like, oh, should the state run like a business? Sometimes it is like, well, yeah, it's like if a state does run itself pretty well, it can afford to support
Mm-hmm.
itself and broaden its social safety nets down the line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of those
but
free
I don't know,
food,
man.
free lunch programs were using like local farmers. So you were supporting kids in need, kids that needed um, lunch, and also
Hmm.
supporting your local farmers.
But
It was like a
now
double win, but now it's
yeah. Now they're going to have to buy cheaper produce from places like Washington State. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
mm-hmm.
We
we're
could have
we're
been,
Maha, right? Make
you know,
America healthy again. So much for that.
yeah, so much for that.
And to
But
talk again about local versus federal stuff, there was we had a great transportation secretary. Um, he goes by the name Pete. Um,
Mayor Pete,
Mayor Pete. What a great man.
PB
He was
Butt.
doing a lot. There's an initiative in Colorado to get some is it light rail? Um,
No, it's fat straight on, full on passenger rail,
yeah, passenger
front
rail.
range rail,
Yes, that would
all the way
run
up
up and down the
from
front range.
Yeah, all the way up from Fort Collins and Boulder, if you know where that is. Actually, I don't know if it would touch Boulder, but it would definitely go all the way up to Fort Collins, down to Denver, down to Colorado Springs, down through Pueblo, and then all the way to New Mexico.
Yes.
So it would have been like a way to get basically to do travel from state to state without having to step foot into the airport.
Yep.
Um,
Or even better, not having to get on I-25.
yeah, city to city. That's even better.
Yeah. If
Um,
you've ever been annoyed sitting in traffic on I-25, that train
I
was going to
know.
help you. Even if you stay in your car. Here's my argument for people who still want to drive their cars. Even if you still want to
Yeah.
drive your car, having that train there is going to take cars off the road, which makes it less traffic for you.
Hmm.
So
Like I think
there's
about people
only a
like
win all the way around.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think about people like my dad. Like when I was growing up, he commuted to Denver for his job, and like that man would wake up at like 3 a.m. like on a bad weather day, 4 a.m. on most days, and he would have to brave the drive up to
Mm-hmm.
get there up around 6:30, 7 a.m. And then he wouldn't get home until like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. at night because of the freaking traffic, and it's an hour commute, right? So
Yep.
like I just imagine like what if he could have just driven to downtown like 10, 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
parked, hopped on a train, took like 20, 30-minute train up to Denver, right? And
Yep.
then he could have done his job, done his thing, hop on the train back downtown, another 10, 15-minute drive home. So like you just cut your entire commute time. Like you're going to be driving 40 minutes to an hour anyways,
Yep.
right? But then now here's the deal. Here's where I get really frustrated. And listen, I'm a part of the Democratic Socialist America, but I don't know if I consider myself full socialist or whatever because I
Mm-hmm.
find myself agreeing with folks like Ezra Klein. I don't know if you've been keeping up with like his whole abundance thing or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Again, I think this may be like the next big fight in the party. Is like, oh, are we going to be abundance Democrats or are we going to be Bernie Democrats?
Yes.
Um, but anyways, like he does make a good argument where it's like, okay, we were promised rail, and then this rail never came to fruition in California and Colorado, and now the technology is already behind again
Yeah.
because in China they're basically doing what Elon's company Tesla, or no, what was it? It was a Hyperloop. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yes.
What Yeah, but anyways, that electromagnetic floating rail kind of
Uh-huh.
technology. China's doing that now, and they're getting trains going up to like 400 or 500 miles per hour. So basically it would be the equivalent of getting from Colorado Springs to Denver in like 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
Like that's insane. That's
And it's
insane.
doable.
Imagine going from the top of the state to the bottom of the state. Or in California, I guess that the equivalent would be from like San Diego to San Francisco in like
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes, you know? Insanity. But we're blowing it. We're already too far behind. Our government can't pass money through our
Yep.
institutions fast enough to get into the hands of builders fast enough to build things fast enough to keep up.
Yep. Yes.
Um, and
I go ahead.
oh, no, that was it.
I would
Just it was just an
argue.
exasperated gasp.
Yes, it is frustrating. The prior administration, and this is an argument against Democrats that I've heard you make before, um, that they're just bad at governing. That what you were saying, you couldn't get the funds to the people fast enough to make these projects that would ultimately help people in the end. And we've moved from not getting money to people fast enough to now we are in a situation where we just don't give out the money anymore at all. That's
Yeah.
where we're at a federal level now. Is I mean, cutting like crazy, which is a whole nother topic. And on your
Hmm.
California point, and um, Elon actively fought against the rail because he wanted to do his hyperloop, um, which there's a great city nerd video about the hyperloop in Las Vegas and how much of a failure it was. But
Oh yeah.
essentially, Elon just fought the fuck out of getting the rail put in with the promise that the hyperloop would do the same job but even better. Um, Come to find out, it was a load of bullshit, like most things Elon says. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it got hampered by private interest, um, which is a whole another issue.
And
Um,
that's kind of no, I think it's all tied together because you're right. Because when the government wants to give the people money, like in an emergency, like during the pandemic, like
uh huh.
we got them stimulus checks real quick.
Yeah, we got that
Like when it
super
comes to
quick.
just getting, and then like also look at the tax returns. Like the government, like the federal
Yes.
government is able to consistently and quickly get you your tax refund.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like and
We'll
it's
see how
pretty
that is
efficient.
next
So
year.
like he fired
Okay.
everybody. What are they gonna do? No,
Yeah.
I'm just
What are they
kidding.
gonna do?
I'm
Well,
paying my
they're not
taxes.
gonna
I
go
promise.
after the rich people. They're gonna come after um,
Us
the me.
poor and us
Yes, us
educated,
poor
right?
people. Yes, especially
Us
if we're gonna
poor
talk
and
out against
educated.
the administration.
Yeah, we're doing the dangerous work right now.
Yeah, we
And that's
are.
something like, gosh, I've been listening to too much Ezra Klein because I want to bring up another thing that he talked about is that I don't know if it was actually Pod Save or him, but one of the things he was talking about on his show was like the idea of like even when you live in Hungary, like you can still like live in an authoritarian government and still have dissent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you have and actually the thing about an authoritarian government is that having loud dissent actually bolsters it because if you're still able to get through what you get through and still have this loud dissent,
Mm-hmm.
it has the illusion that democracy is alive and with that illusion, you still have the people on your side. And that's why you see a lot of these authoritarian, like, bodies and dictators, like, still be pretty popular.
Oh yeah.
Um, because lots of the times the policies are incredibly popular.
Yes. I
Like
mean, they
the
got to power
Salvadoran guy,
somehow. Oh
yeah, like
yes.
The Salvadoran guy, like he did decrease that crime rate. Let me tell you,
Yeah, he
he
made good
did
on
it
his
in a very
promise.
cruel. He did, and I think that's kind of what Trump's betting on too. Is that if like I can get if I can truly deport enough people that people who voted for me truly see less brown people, black
Mm-hmm.
people in their schools, in their churches, out spending money, things like that, or opening up their own businesses, especially, then yeah, I have delivered for the public, and people will reward me with a third term. Um, that's what he's betting on.
That is kind of what he's betting
And
on.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting because, you know, as a party, and I think just like Ross isn't here right now, I consider him a part of Poor Educated officially
Oh,
now.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, but Ross, he's also kind of like this too. Being an accelerationist is also like, it's like, yes, the sooner things go to crap, the
Mm-hmm.
sooner like, the will of people will turn against them. But at the same time, the sooner things go to crap, the sooner things go to crap, man. Like it's not great.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so it is
I
kind of,
have
I think that's where we're kind of heading.
I I had a thought on this a few days ago, and I've been like ruminating on it of this accelerationist like idea of
Uh-huh.
I mean they are absolutely tearing everything apart, right? At a federal level, like our government is being
Hmm.
ripped to shreds. Um,
Likely going to get destroyed in the midterms because of it, and they know it too.
oh yeah, they know it. They absolutely know it. Um, then maybe this is me trying to find a silver lining where there might not be one. Um, but we know that some of the programs and policies in the government beforehand were not meeting their goals. They were not doing what they were intended to do. And maybe this ripping everything down gives us some kind of blank slate to work with to build, I'll use a Biden term, build back better. Um, but like
Yeah,
we're
isn't it?
getting assuming we come back into power or Trump leaves, which is not a foregone conclusion, there is a chance in there to be able to make some radical changes that were not possible beforehand, but that also requires the Democratic Party to not be the status quo party.
Yeah, that's where it kind of comes back to, are we going to go down the path of like FDR, where like we,
Hmm.
find this leader who is like very enigmatic and is like, kind of honestly like, and it's so crazy because you evoked Biden, right? And
Yes,
like it's so crazy. If that dude had not run for re-election, he'd probably be we'd be talking about him in a totally different way. Like we'd probably
absolutely.
talking about him as like one of the most transformative, like best presidents ever. But unfortunately, it seems like ego won, and then
Yeah,
now he has and now he's trying to do his comeback tour while he also has like cancer and is like obviously has dementia. So I
yeah.
don't know.
It,
um
it's
but
painful.
but yeah, so it's either going to be that where we have like the new FDR or like what Biden promised to be, or we're going to have like the Clinton era where like we're
Yep.
pulled more to the right. We get like a well, I don't know, like as much as I love Whitmer, like Whitmer is very much like a moderate, down the middle Democrat.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I assume we're gonna get a Whitmer, but I would like an AOC.
I really, I mean, this is still 3 years out,
Oh
or
no, it's already begun though. It's already
it
started.
it's already started, but we so midterms are coming up um, next
Yeah.
year, which will be big. But I think like the real radical, so midterms are about stopping the rot. The next presidential election, I think, is going to be about building back essentially.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm
Yeah. I don't
it's
know, man.
hard.
I think we may just have to skip the building back part and just go into the radical change part. Like, I do think truly we are going to elect our own version of like Doge people, where they're going to go in and
Yes,
like break things in a different way, right? Like,
yes,
still the if we're going to have to become a populist party no matter what, you know?
yes. Hmm.
And like basically we are at a point where we are kind of anti, establishment, anti-institutional.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter which way you go with that. If you want that popular vote, if you want the will of people, it's still going to be anti-institutional. It's still going to be looking for change. Hot
Yes.
take: I don't think even AOC, anybody who's like doing the whole like political game right now is going to be. I hope they don't win the presidential primary or anything like that. I really do hope like there's like some new faces that rise in the midterms, like in Congress,
Uh-huh.
that will like kind of like try to like quickly like kind of like the Tea Party did, where it's like they came in really hard during the midterms and then they all like did their best to rise to prominence as quick as they could.
Yep.
Um, I imagine there's going to be that sort of rat race, hopefully, between 2024 and 2026. Or what? God, shit. When are the midterms? 2020? No, because
2026.
presidential is 2028, so it'd be
Yes.
2026
Hmm.
between 2026 and 2028. Gosh, that's not too like far away. That's crazy.
No, it's not. It's going to come up faster than you think.
Oh,
But
always.
I'm going to pull us back to some urbanism. Um,
Oh yeah, the title of
you
the
see,
episode
look,
or
this is
whatever.
what happens when we get talking.
Edit that all out.
Yes. Well, no, not exactly, but the for listeners, we are
We're
definitely
rambling.
some tangent people. Um, but I'll pull us back to some urbanism and just what you've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but for you in Colorado Springs, what do you think urbanism looks like for you in
Well,
Colorado
for
Springs?
I would say so. Like, there's good and bad, right? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
kind of like all over America, where I think there's like pockets of every city where it's like it's still a pretty good job. Like
Yes.
like the major road I live on, Academy Boulevard, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of leads down to the Air Force Academy at the very major road. It was developed in like the 60s and 70s and was very prominently used into the 80s and 90s, while before Powers, our other main boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
was being developed. So it has like a bus that runs every 15 minutes, and I can get from one end of the academy to the other end of the academy in like 15, 20 minutes. But then I try to take my bus to work, which is past Powers, and that's like a 30, 40-minute trip, right? So there are like pockets where the transportation is really good, like especially downtown. There's a free bus and things like that. Another thing our city is doing really good at is like bike infrastructure and
Mm-hmm.
encouraging e-bike use. I have been, I've traveled to Washington and Oregon, which is where Maya and I would love to settle down at some point, my wife and I. And like we've tried their like bike programs, and either they and Denver's guilty of this too. Either they
Mm-hmm.
have like the crappy like cricket bikes, or they have like the lime bikes, which is just they allow these corporations to come in and litter the city
Yep.
with these terribly like crappy bikes that aren't maintained very well. And then other cities have like city bikes, but they're manual, and they're like have their gears aren't well maintained, or they're
Mm-hmm.
only a one bike. Gosh, one city we went to in Oregon, I'm not going to drop names. It was Eugene. Had a had one speed bicycles, or there were some bicycles that were like only a one speed bike, and then there's some that only went up to like four speeds, right? Um, so our city, Colorado Springs, has like one of the best public e-bike programs I've ever seen, called Pike Ride, and it's an e-bike, pedal assist. It's really quick, and it's super cheap per mile. I think it's like only like 10 cents per mile, something crazy like that. No, it's like 10 cents per minute, which is still really good because like I can ride for 30
That's
minutes,
really good.
like for nothing basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know, man. I've been really impressed. You can also rent the bikes outright, like through them. So you'd be like, okay, I would like to rent this bike per month, and you take the bike home with you, and like they give you the charger and everything you need. It doesn't have like the bike decals on it, so it's just like a plain e-bike. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know. And we also have bikeways that have been developed. Like there's is it the Pikes Peak Greenway, something like that, that goes all the way through the city and even connects up to our other creeks. Like the creek I live next to is Cottonwood Creek. I can get all the way downtown in like 20, 30 minutes on bike. Um,
That's fantastic.
so yeah, so like in some ways, our city is like very progressive when it comes to urbanism and things like that. And I'd love to see more of that. But where we're not very progressive is the way we just like, for a city that hates Californians, like we just want to be California real bad because we just sprawl and sprawl and sprawl.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be better about densifying and adding things in between. So like even like the way they think about our bike infrastructure, it's about getting us away from the roads and like through like a lot of greenery, and like a lot of our bikeways like follow our creeks, like Fountain Creek and Cottonwood Creek and things like that. Um, so even then, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is just for transportation from point A to point B, but we need to be more focused on putting things in between
Yes.
for us to, at a more human scale, to stop at and do. Like let's put our stores up to the street front.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's put housing on top of our quiet markets and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I completely agree.
Yeah, let's add a light rail to Tejon. That was a crazy proposal I saw. One of our bar street is Tejon downtown, and one of the proposals I've seen come through City Council is they want to take cars off that road, sort of like 16th Street Mall up in Denver, and put our first light rail there, and have a light rail go up and down Tejon.
And
Um,
honestly, I think it would work beautifully. Um,
oh yeah, especially got all those drunks,
yes.
hop on the light rail, take them to the parking, take them to their neighborhoods or whatever nearby.
Yeah. I think it would be a beautiful thing down on Tejon. It would make
Oh
so
yeah,
much sense to put in, but even just like a streetcar. Um,
yeah. Why did we take down our streetcars, man? That's the worst thing
eh,
America did. What's wrong
well,
with us?
it has to do a lot with General Motors. There's a proven conspiracy of GM going in and buying out streetcars and ripping them out for the sake of having more space for cars. They framed it as doing the public good, when in reality it was just these streetcars are taking up space that we could put our cars in. Um,
Yeah,
that's I think that's a whole nother episode that I could probably get into. Um,
yeah, just a different type of competitive market.
yes, uh-huh. So for you in Colorado Springs, it, you want a lot of connectivity of places and slowing down the sprawl and doing some of that revitalization infill work, which there's
Connectivity is community, man.
yes, and there's totally space for it in Colorado Springs. There's some areas that could easily like Martin Drake going away right now. Um, the Martin Drake power plant, they're
Hmm.
slowly taking it down and whatnot, and I guess we'll see how long that
Right in the heart
actually
of downtown,
takes.
basically. Well, not in
Yeah,
the heart of downtown, but right outside downtown.
yeah,
Prime
and
real estate.
America the Beautiful Park used to be like a neighborhood and stuff, but it's I mean there's some issues with the land over there and if you can actually like build on it, but there are spaces in downtown Colorado Springs that could be infilled with more housing, more walkability. Um, and
They're planning a skyscraper right now
yes, which we'll see if that
on Vermejo. I'm
still.
pretty sure. Can't remember exactly the road,
Yeah,
but
I remember seeing an article about it. Um, but there's a lot of for all the negatives people say about Colorado Springs, there is a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity um, in Colorado Springs. I mean, you've got
so,
OCC over there
hmm.
and stuff like that. Well, even like the old neighborhood I used to live in, the Village 7 area, I still think there's
Village Seven's historic as well. So like that's
yeah.
like part of that academy develop I was mentioning, where it's like yes, you have a bus going up and down that
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood every 15 and going heck not just east west but north south as well.
Yes.
Our east west connectivity is terrible in this city.
Yes.
Um,
Everything is mainly north and south. Um,
yeah, yeah,
not a lot. I mean, Austin Bluffs is like kind of like the only good one. I mean, not even.
yeah.
Um,
Even then, there's not really a lot of public transport on that one. Like
no,
that's
there's
unless
not.
you're going like towards the barn because it's like a barns like try. Man, like
Yeah.
I said, highly specific local politics and
Yeah.
urbanism right here on Poor and Educated. Let's
Oh,
go.
absolutely. I think Colorado Springs has a ton of opportunity, and Ari and I have talked about it. My wife Ari and I um, have talked about moving back to Colorado Springs once I'm done in Boulder. It's dependent
Really?
on. Oh yeah, I mean we
Are you
totally will.
enjoying? Did
I
you
am.
enjoy down here more than up there? Like I always envy you because like I mentioned, being able to get to Union Station downtown in like 30 minutes without a
Hmm.
car, like amazing.
Yes.
Um,
Let me put it this way. I think I enjoy living here. Um, and I also enjoyed living in Colorado Springs. I do think the urbanism is better here where I'm living now. I mean, with RTD, the connectivity is so much better. Um, that being said, I think Ari and I went through so many like big transformations. We only lived in Colorado Springs for 2 years, but like
it's
finished
true.
college there. That's where our son was born. Um, my best friends live there. Um,
Hell yeah.
we would. It's certainly it's certainly high on our list, and I really
Yeah.
do believe that there are some opportunities um, and possibilities in Colorado Springs to do a lot of good and to improve. Um, like you were saying, the connectivity. I think there's a ton of chances for infill. Um,
Hmm.
I would love to live in oh, what's you know where Patty Jewett is, the golf
Yeah,
course.
Patty, Old North End. That's
Yeah, the old
we
North End,
referring to.
that area, which
Yeah.
has its drawbacks. It is a lot of single family houses with not a
Oh,
lot
and
of.
so wealthy too.
It's
But to
so
be
so
fair about those
wealthy.
single family homes, a lot of those have been redone with ADUs and
Yes.
also transformed into apartments.
Uh-huh.
So again, even though that's like another thing that, like where Colorado Springs has been doing a lot of good.
Yes.
I don't know. The only thing I think our city is just far too flat and sprawling. Just we need
Yeah.
to
Well,
heighten up a little bit. Let's compete with those mountains a little bit here.
exactly. And I think,
But then they're like, more views. You're taking away my
yeah,
views.
got to see Pikes Peak from every possible angle at all times.
Like, come on, people. No, you
Well,
don't.
the thing with Old North End, though, for me, though, is I think there's the main thing it's lacking for me. It is for being single family homes, and you just mentioned the ADUs and apartments and stuff. It is relatively dense. Um,
Hmm.
which I think is going to be the happy middle for that kind of density is the happy middle for me and Ari. If they just stuck in some restaurants and some corner stores and maybe um, some like small grocery stores in there anywhere, that neighborhood would be absolutely popping at all times.
They're kind of trying to do that. It's not the exact same area, but the Ivy Wild neighborhood is similar. Um, you're talking Patty Jewett neighborhood, right? Are you
Yeah,
talking?
Old
Oh yeah,
North End,
okay.
Patty Jewett area.
Yeah, but I think they get away with it a little bit because they have Colorado College right there.
They
So there
do.
is a lot of like restaurants and little like bodegas and things for students right there. But
Yes,
you're right,
it's
like for the
south of
community as a
Uinta.
whole, yeah, the community as a whole doesn't have as much to go off of
Yeah.
outside of they just tend to go downtown.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they are close enough to where they can. It's like a what 5 minute drive, if that.
Hmm.
It's almost walking distance. It's probably a bit far to be doing some real walking. Um, but yeah, the
Yeah,
Colorado
yeah.
College is right there. Like Uinta is like the main drive that kind of like for me separates where Colorado College is and where Old North End is. Um,
Hmm.
but I think there's just so much possibility and opportunity in Colorado Springs that we may want to move back in the future. Not a hard
Nice.
set thing though.
I know. I
Um,
do hope that because Denver, again, they've just been so smart with like revitalizing like
yeah.
their train station, things like that. Like, I really hope that we revitalize. The only thing is that we separated our train station with a highway.
Oh yeah, classic.
Like, it's terrible. Like, literally, like, it's the only thing that's like cut off, like, two. It's so frustrating. But yeah, like we have like such a cute like Spanish style train station in our
Uh
city,
huh.
and then you have like this just disgusting overpass right next to it.
Yeah, I mean the Olympic Museum and that train station are separated by maybe 100, 125 yards,
It
maybe.
looks very silly.
It's
Yeah, it would be perfect.
it's
I
right
mean, just
there,
move the train
very
station
walkable.
too. I think that's
Because
actually when they were talking about the Front Range Rail. I do think they were talking about having a connection go to the museum.
oh yeah,
Um,
they should. I mean, it's
yeah,
right
I think I
there. People can get off
vaguely remember that.
that train and walk to that museum so
Yeah,
easily, with the exception of one, there's that overpass for getting off I-25 that goes to downtown that splits it, and there's like half of it is no sidewalks, walking on like gravel. Like there's such an opportunity, and I really hope if this rail comes along that the city sees like, oh my God, we have a huge opportunity here. If we just,
yeah.
it's not even that long. If we just like make this little stretch right here nice to walk on, we'll have people getting off the train, walking over to the museum, spending money, and isn't Antlers right next to it too?
Oh yeah, it's all downtown is not that big.
No, it's not. Like there's
Yeah, it's only
so
like
much opportunity
I think it's like
right
maybe
there.
like 6 or 7 square blocks. Like, it's nothing crazy.
Yeah, and your train station is so close.
They're
Where
so cute.
honestly, yes, and maybe you just have one like a shuttle bus, or a couple
Hmm.
shuttle buses that are running from your train station to Antlers or whatever, so people don't have to like drag
Yep.
a suitcase or whatever. But that's such an opportunity to attract so many people. Um,
It is. It is. And
yeah,
then
that's what I mean.
especially
There's
again
opportunity.
with yeah, and again with this intercity connections, right? Like,
Uh
that's where
huh.
I get really excited because then you have like, I could hop on a bus right now on a bus. I can get downtown in like I would say around 30-40 minutes, right? Because right now the way it works is I hop on a bus in Academy and it's like a 15-minute bus to like the Citadel Mall, and then both of the malls serve as like pretty major like bus hubs,
Uh
to like
huh.
get around the rest of the city. And then Citadel will take me down to the downtown hub, and then from downtown, I would just be able to hop on the train to Denver from that train station. Um, So like yeah, like things like that, like the idea of like not needing a to get around on a human scale. That's where
Yes.
urbanism really is special.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the 15-minute city, which also is like people say like it's a scary thing. Like, come on, you don't want to be able to all in 15 minutes do your grocery shopping, go to the bank, go to the post office, go
Hmm.
to school, go to work, and like you don't want to be able to just have that be a 15-minute walk. It's not communism, bro. It's walking. Like,
It's a lot of right wing conspiracy theorists saying, oh, they want to like trap you in one spot. That's somehow like
which is
taken
crazy
over
because the
the.
whole idea is like the whole idea is if you condense and you densify your city, then you have more nature to escape into.
Yep.
Like it doesn't even make sense.
That's
It
part
doesn't
of me
even make
wanting
sense.
like a
It
park
gives you
nearby.
it gives you more rural options because less of the city is spreading into the rural areas. So therefore, you have more rural options if you densify the cities.
Yes.
Like these Republicans just don't go the extra step in the logic. Like,
I
okay, well now we're
think
turning into
some
a
of.
different type of YouTube channel. Republicans,
Yeah, we
we
are.
want you. You are also poor and you are also educated. Um, so join poor and educated,
Yeah.
but also vote better.
Yes. Vote for your best interests, not
Don't
what's
vote for the
being.
carbon line.
Yeah.
You're better than that.
Yeah.
You're
Don't vote
better
for the
than that.
carbon line. That is it'll be a drag on the city financially. Um,
Yeah.
and will lead to a reduction in services like bus lines to be financially responsible, with major air quotes around that. Um, Essentially
Finger
just
flex.
subsidizing the single family R1 development way out east. Um,
Yeah. Anyway, so what's going up in Denver? I feel like we've been talking a lot about Colorado Springs, which is only the second biggest city.
yes,
What's
that
what
is
do you got
true.
going up there?
Um,
What's urbanist up there?
I will say, like you said, Denver is not like a prime example of great urbanism or anything close to
Best in
it.
the state. Let me
It is
tell you.
definitely best in the
Actually, I
state, and
don't
it's
think
definitely
that's
the
true. I don't even think that's true. I think like
uh,
Boulder's the best in the state or something like that.
well, I think Boulder. We'll talk about this. Actually, this will be another good podcast episode talking about college towns and urbanism.
Is it all RTD or does Boulder
It's
have its
still
own thing?
RTD. I mean, CU has their own stuff, um, but a
But
lot
it's
of it,
CU's
yeah, that's
internal
CU, and then
transit.
everything else is RTD. But if
Okay,
you're a
okay.
CU student, and I think faculty too, I don't know for sure.
So yeah, best
Um,
in the state. Best in the state.
well, you get a free pass to all RTD stuff. It's included in my tuition. Um, so I have
Oh,
like that. That's that
see,
card I
even
have.
UCS, I think UCS had something similar like that, but that
I
was
don't know if
before
it's
the
as
bus
good.
rider.
I think
It wasn't. It
um,
wasn't.
I think it's mainly for. I think they did it because so many students live, like where I live, Westminster, Broomfield, Lafayette, that kind of area, that they want
Mm.
them to be able to
My
get
new
on.
school district, though, District 11, has free bus passes for the kiddos.
That's
So if
good.
you're a D11 student, high school, middle school, you can ride the city bus for free because I think a lot of the school busing is going private. Like I know,
Which is an
like for
issue.
my current school district, like parents have to pay for their kids to be able to ride the
That's
bus.
insane.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it.
I
I
didn't
just
know that
found
was
out
a
about
thing.
it.
That is so
It's nuts though.
regressive.
Like
Um,
$100, hundreds of dollars a year, something like
that is batshit crazy.
that. Yeah,
And I've seen, so to get back to Denver, um, I'll take like the FF1, the Flatiron Flyer, out to Boulder, but I have to
very
hop
comfy
on.
bus.
Very comfy, and like you mentioned earlier, you fly past people when there's traffic because the bus gets to use the shoulder or the HOV lane. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, talk about a high occupancy vehicle. Um, but
Yeah,
I've seen kids with their backpacks in the morning hop on a city bus and take that bus down to where their school is. Because I'm pretty sure it's actually, if you're under 18, you ride free. Maybe it's 16. Don't quote me on this. But RTD, essentially, if you're under a certain age, you just ride for free. Um,
oh, see, that's good.
it's a safety thing, um, and it adds so much autonomy for kids that age. Um,
Hmm.
it's a great thing. But Denver, in and of itself, urbanism wise, um, it's actually pretty good. So where I live next to some trails and stuff, and I don't have a ton of connectivity um, to other places, but I mean there's a bus stop right in front of my apartment complex that's every 15 minutes, and then it's a 5 minute ride to 36 um, to where the Flatiron Flyer can pick me up, and then I can go either into Denver or out to Boulder. Um, I mean, I live a 35 minute drive from um, school for me, um, and it's only probably 45-50 minutes if I take the bus. Um, which one key part of urbanism for me is making your public transport more efficient than driving your car. I think you really got if you want to get people on your bus, you got to make it the better option than driving, which it's not quite there
Always
yet
a
here.
challenge.
Yes,
Yep.
especially when you get to like the one more lane people who don't want to give the bus a lane. Um,
Hmm. Or
that's a
you
whole
get
nother
caught in
thing.
the same traffic the cars
Yes,
are caught in because of
that's
construction,
why
or
a bus
because
lane is so important. If you're
yeah.
gonna put the bus in the same traffic as everybody else, it's not going to be the better option. Um,
Hmm.
but out of all the places I've lived in, Denver it definitely has the best um, urbanism I've seen so far. Um,
Even better than Austin. 'Cause, like Austin,
Definitely.
as far as Texas cities go, that's a pretty liberal one.
Oh, it's incredibly liberal, and it has some like really good like urban green spaces and things like that. And to be fair, I lived outside of Austin, so I never like really took any buses or anything inside of Austin. It just wasn't feasible. So yeah, let me put it this way. I lived in a suburb of Austin and I had no way of taking public transport to get into Austin. Here I live in a suburb of Denver in between Denver and Boulder, and there's public transport here that I can get to both Boulder
Easy
and
peasy,
Denver
yeah.
easy without ever having to drive my car, find a place to park, pay for parking, don't have to use the gas. Um, it's quite good actually. I really do like
Hmm.
Denver, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. They have their own issues of um, I think a poorly conceived and poorly designed light rail system um, that doesn't meet the purposes they wanted it to, and is now a financial drag on RTD. But that being said, there's also in some of the last votes and stuff, they've voted to increase service on some of the bus routes because the ridership was high enough to justify it. Um,
That's awesome.
it's really good, and it's in the right direction. I think Denver's for the most part heading in the right direction. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the only
I've
thing
lived
too is
here.
that I know RTD has a super strong union, and it's actually kind of interfering with some of the rail stuff because
Yep.
I believe there was supposed to be I can't remember if it was Longmont. Actually, that's probably why I was thinking of Longmont earlier, is because Longmont was fighting really hard to have a rail connection, but I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure the bus union is like
Yeah, they
making
have a
it
bus stop.
like yeah, they fought really hard just to strengthen the buses. So I'm pretty sure they just upped the drivers and they upped the like frequency of the rate. So they're going Denver in some ways is going all in on their busing in the
They
lieu
are.
of, with their struggles of getting rail off the ground.
Yes, which
Which is like good and bad
yeah,
because
it
it's
has its
like at the same
drawbacks.
time the workers are being heard, you know,
Uh-huh. So
but
yeah,
on the
Longmont
same
has
time,
their own bus stop. I see Denver moving in the same direction as uh, the Transmiliano, which is
I never even heard of that. What the heck is that?
it is in I believe Bogota. Let me double check myself real quick. Um, it's a bus, yeah, Transmiliano. It's in Bogota, Colombia, but it's essentially their busing system, and um, it essentially acts as a tram system. It is incredibly efficient. They have some of the highest ridership. Um, I could see something similar to the program they have there happening in Denver. Um,
Really like a really beefy bus.
it's incredibly, yeah, I'd say so.
Which is like I don't hate the bus, but at the same time, there's something magic about rail. I don't know.
There is something
I don't know.
magical. I think for Colorado and Denver and Colorado Springs, um, we're gonna see in-city bus services, and then that front range rail, passenger rail, um,
Yeah.
becoming
And I'm interested to see what
huge.
that looks like in Colorado Springs too, because it is they're guaranteed to come here.
Yeah, and I
We are
looked
one
over the
of the
map a minute ago, and it does run through Boulder, Longmont, and then down to Denver through Castle Rock, all the way down through to Pueblo. But it goes from Fort
mhm.
Collins. It would connect every major city in the Front Range.
Yeah, it's the Front Range Rail.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the times they have like these big grandiose ideas. We'll see if it still stays that way.
And this
But
just makes it, and also the only thing that was sketchy is it looks like they wanted to use like existing track, which would mean that some of the connection would be a little weird.
it would be. But I also, from the map I was looking at, it looks like that rail would run from Boulder to Denver. It would run along 36. I mean that's what makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
which would be, oh my God, if we stayed in this area, 'cause we live real close to US or 36 right now. If
Hmm.
I could see them putting in a station halfway between Boulder and Denver. Oh my God, that'd
Yeah.
be
And that's the
so
other thing. This is just like
nice.
another like this is also just like another economic like I know like Denver International Airport is like your guys' biggest employer.
Uh-huh.
Like that is like like that place keeps your city fed
Yes.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just like when you add these big transport hubs, like Denver historically is a city that would not exist without rail, you know? Like
Yes.
you're revitalizing industries, you're creating jobs. Like I
Uh-huh.
think this is where I fell really heavily into like that. And then I think we should probably start wrapping up the episode here because I think
I
we're
do agree.
rambling a bit. But I would just leave off like this is where I think being poor and educated really was born was this love
Mm-hmm.
of like urbanism and labor and how it all feeds together,
Yeah,
because like transportation is just as much labor as it is city planning.
absolutely.
And I think transportation, I think speaking of urbanism, it seems like both of our interests came from this idea of transportation. I think you even mentioned you wanted to work for the Department of Transportation there
Yeah,
for
I
a
have talked about
while
that in the
be-
past.
before you fell in love with water.
Yes.
Uh,
I do absolutely love water.
um, but yeah, like the idea of like how we get around a place to me, how we get around and what we're getting around in,
Yes.
that's urbanism to me. And like for some people, that's in a metal box from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
And the world I want to live in is getting around with people, connected to people, around people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you rather be in a metal box, secluded by yourself, or in a metal box with other people that you can talk to and have a good time with? Um,
Or not focus on not killing another person.
yes,
Like,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
but also that's the other thing too is that it's a safety thing. It like
It's a
creates a
major safety
safer,
thing.
yeah, creates a safer city when you
Uh,
have when you have less people in control of the giant metal things that can run into people,
yes.
or other metal things. Like you're limiting your risk. So I don't know.
Yes.
Another
I,
thing to
I
consider.
I'll I have two final points talking about being poor and the connection to transportation. Um, some of like the oldest. This is a thing for me, caring about soccer over in Europe. Some of the oldest football clubs in especially Eastern Europe are all called Locomotive. There's like Locomotive Moscow, Locomotive Leipzig, Sofia. Um, and this is a fun fact for you, Anthony, to use in the future. Locomotive is literally like train. So a lot of these
Uh
really
huh.
old, historic, storied football clubs, soccer clubs in Europe, all started out of train unions. Um,
Oh, that
and
is
they
interesting.
became like a centerpiece of the community. Um,
That's like bowling leagues in America. I know
kind
a lot
of.
of bowling leagues were union and things like that.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of historic football clubs have their roots in like union movements and worker based stuff. The locomotive ones, if you see locomotive on any soccer club, you know they were started by like a train union.
That's very interesting. That's super cool.
Yes, and they became like a centerpiece of the community, which brings me to my second and final point about urbanism. a large part of urbanism for me is building that community. Um, like I grew up in a place that I still love, but I don't really feel connected to as a community because there was no urbanism. And it was so
Hmm.
hard to connect with people around me. And then I moved to some places that did have some urbanism where I talked to people around me and actually saw them on a regular basis rather than being secluded in my single family home. That urbanism for me, another huge part of it is I call it livability, but it's more about being like enjoying living in it rather than
Sociability.
yeah, sociability. That's the correct word, I think, of being able to see people and creating community. Urbanism does that. It creates a sense of place, of caring. It doesn't have to take a tragedy to pull people together. Um, People already care about their place. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good place to end it.
yeah,
That's a good
urbanism
message.
is really placemaking, community building, and good,
Ooh,
healthy
placemaking.
transportation. Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Caleb.
I'm Anthony.
Come back next time for some more Poor and Educated.